In just a few hours, we'll be privileged, Emirat Hashem, to begin the Yom Tov of Purim. And Purim is such an incredibly beautiful and overwhelming day. A day that's filled with such simcha. And it's a strange kind of simcha, a little bit of a bizarre type of joy, an exaggerated joy, a jocular joy. In fact, even a type of joy that has elements that during the rest of the year would seem out of place and maybe even a little bit inappropriate. Yet on Purim, there is such a tidal wave of joy, such a tidal wave of celebration. A celebration not only of the historical salvation of our ancestors in Shushan Habira in the Persian Median Empire, but a celebration of the fact that we recognize that Hashem guides our lives each and every day. The Ribono Shel Olam, His Hashgacha Pratis, His divine providence, literally choreographs all of the events of our lives. And even when we think that we are enshrouded in darkness, and even when we think that we are out of options, and even when we think that we have hit the end of the road, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always there holding our hand, locking us in His embrace, and guiding us every step of the way. But there's an amazing statement in the Zohar. The Zohar says that Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, is Yom Kippurim, that the holiness of Yom Kippur resembles the holiness of Purim. And it's a statement that we've all heard about this connection between these days. And if you were to pick 2 days on the Jewish calendar that were more opposite, I think it would be Yom Kippur and Purim. And yet the Zohar writes that Yom Kippurim, Yom Kippur has a Kedusha that's like Purim. And the chart cover Rebbe Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha Zechusa Yagin Aleinu says something amazing. The Rebbe says, if you notice, the Zohar is not comparing Purim to Yom Kippur. The Zohar is comparing Yom Kippur to Purim. In fact, Yom Kippur is Yom Kippurim. That the holiness of Yom Kippur is like the holiness of Purim, which means that if you're comparing Yom Kippur to Purim, it means that ultimately the Kedusha, the holiness of Purim is even greater than the holiness of Yom Kippur. And how are we to understand that? And the Rebbe, the Chart Cover Rebbe, says something so beautiful. He explains that by Yom Kippur, which is a day of Slichum Mechila, a day of incredible forgiveness, you can access the forgiveness, but you have to do tshuva. There's a process. The Rambam has 10 chapters of Hilchos Tshuva. So you could start tshuva with a desire to be better, but there's a process. I have to stop sinning. I have to have recognition of what I've done. I have to say I'm sorry. I have to make Kabbalah Lahaba, a pledge to do better in the future. If again I've hurt other people, I have to interact with them, ask for forgiveness. So Yom Kippur is a powerful day. Yom Kippur is an incredibly powerful day. But at the end of the day, you have to access the power of that day through the mechanism of tshuva. If you don't utilize tshuva, you can't unlock the power of of Yom Kippur. But says the Shad Kav Rebbe something amazing. Herein lies the greatness of Purim. And the Rebbe says, there's an interesting halacha on Purim, which is that throughout the rest of the year, when someone asks us for tzedakah, when someone asks us for charity, a person has the right to ask questions, actually has an obligation to do so. You don't just give. It's good to be charitable, but you have to be charitable with chachma. You have to know who you're giving to, what's the nature of the cause. Unfortunately, what a person has to find out is a legitimate cause, not a legitimate cause. There's a lot of questions you have to ask before you go ahead and you give money, or even if it's not a lot of questions, there are some questions. Yet there is a fascinating halacha when it comes to Purim. And the fascinating halacha is, kala poshet yad nosnim lo. Whoever asks, you give. Whoever asks, you give. That's the halacha. It doesn't apply throughout the rest of the year. Hilchos tzedakah normally is ask questions and then give. On Purim, you give, you don't ask questions. How much you want to give is up to you. But if somebody asks, you give. And the Chart Cover Rebbe says, what is true lamata is true lamala. Whatever applies in this world also applies in the celestial sphere. And the same way that if another Jew comes to me and asks, could I have? I say yes. So says the Rebbe, the power of Purim is that even if I don't deserve forgiveness, even if I don't deserve a new start, if I ask for it, I get it. Kala poshet yad nosnim lo. Whoever extends their hand, you have to give. Another Jew extends his hand to me, I have to give. I extend my hand to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he has to give as well. And here says the Rebbe, is the greatness of Purim over Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur you can get forgiveness, you could attain salvation, you could attain a new start, you could get all of those things. But there's a price of entry. The price of the new beginning, the price of forgiveness is tshuva, and tshuva is a process, and sometimes even a protracted process. But on Purim, you can get that forgiveness. You can get that new beginning. You can get that clean slate, and all I have to do is ask. If you extend your hand and you ask for the new beginning, it's yours. And he says, the Trad Kav Rebbe, herein lies the power of Purim. He observes that we say in Shoshanas Yaakov at the end of the Megillah, we sing the beautiful song, we say, Gam Charvona Zachor Latov. Charvona, who was one of the attendants of the king, even Charvona is remembered for good. And the Rebbe says, Charvona, the shorish of Charvona is Chorev, which means destroyed. Even if someone is destroyed, even if I've obliterated myself, I've made so many bad decisions, so many wrong moves, I've compromised my identity, I've compromised my spirituality, I'm like flat on my back, I'm just down and out. On Purim, Gam Charvona Zachor Latov. Even someone who is totally destroyed, even someone who is just bereft of any holiness, any spirituality, could also be remembered for good. All you have to do is ask. Herein lies, says the Trad Kav Rebbe, the power of Purim. And that's why it's Yom Kippur is Yom Kippurim. Because as great as Yom Kippur is, you still have to do tshuva. Purim is even greater. Because even without tshuva, all I have to do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I just want a new beginning. I just want to start again. I just want a clean slate. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, herein lies the power of Purim. May we be zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to have a beautiful Yom Tov, a Yom Tov filled with Mikra, Megillah, Mishloach, Manos, Matanos, Levyonim. May it be a Yom Tov in Yirtzeh Hashem in which we do our part in fostering additional achdus within Klal Yisrael, additional unity. Give that shalach manas to the person maybe you have a little bit of a strained relationship with. Push yourself a little bit more to give a little extra matanos le'evyonim. Make sure to keep the Jewish communities of Ukraine and our brothers and sisters who are now in Eretz Yisrael in your tzedakah as well. But most of all, or I shouldn't say most of all, as important as all of those things, take a few moments over the course of this Purim and be poshet yad to the Ribbono Shel Olam. Stretch out your hand to Hashem and say, Hashem, maybe I haven't done tshuva until now. Maybe I can't even fully do tshuva for whatever the reason. But I want a new beginning. I want to start fresh. I want to reconcile. I want the blank slate. I want the tabla rasa. I want it. And I want it now. And dear friends, just know if you ask, if you extend your hand to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, kol poshet yad, if you extend your hand, no stinlo. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give it to us. May we be zocha to receive that new beginning, to receive that forgiveness from our Father above. And may it be a beautiful, uplifting, and freilich and Purim for us, for our mishpachos, for our communities, and for all of Klal Yisrael.